Hey guys, today's video is brought to you by Off the Record, the app that goes in your pocket and fights your tickets for you. Listen, if you're watching this program, chances are you're going to get pulled over and you're going to get ticketed at least as often as the average once every 3 years. It's going to happen. You might as well be ready. There's a whole system in place to use tickets to extract your money. The police, the court system, and especially the insurance companies. You have another option, guys. Off the Record is here for you. They'll fight your ticket for you. They'll go to court for you. You don't even have to go. Even if it's a bigger ticket like a DUI, a reckless, or misdemeanor, they will fight it for you and you don't even have to go. It is fantastic. Get the Off the Record app and use code TST10 or go to offtherecord.com/TST to get 10% off all your legal services through Off the Record for the next 3 years. Off the Record has a 97% success rate in getting tickets eliminated or substantially reduced. So why not use them? Don't be a part of the system. Fight the system and always fight your tickets with Off the Record. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a solitary morning out here on a road I don't get to very often, but I really should. It's worth the drive, not least of which because it's a dead end. And I've been sitting here for over half an hour since just after the sun came up. So odds are pretty good that the dead end is dead. This is a video in which we reappreciate, say goodbye, and affirm the Shelby GT350R. I first drove this thing when it first came out, 2016 model year. Drove it at the end of 2015, and man, did this thing, it made an impression. I did 2 track days. I put 2,500 miles on the press car, and then I tried to buy it. And actually, one of the more common questions I get asked by fans, aside from what's the best sports car for 20 grand, is did I ever buy a Shelby GT350R? No. The answer is no, I didn't. Why didn't I? Because nobody wanted to sell me one. I wanted to buy the press car, they wouldn't sell me that, and then I tried to buy one the normal way that people wanted to buy one, and I tried to be Matt Farah, didn't help. Nobody wanted to sell me one, they all wanted like 90 grand. In hindsight, maybe I don't wish I paid over sticker for one. If you were able to get one of these in 2016 at sticker, I think, and you put some miles on it, I think that depreciation has probably been very kind to you compared to what it could have been with other cars. Having said that, if you paid $90,000 for one in 2016 and you try and sell it now and consider it any type of investment whatsoever, you got some egg on your face. Having said that, this is the 2020 GT350R Heritage Edition, and the Heritage Edition really just means these stickers. Wimbledon white, blue stripes, and these sort of throwbacky stickers, which if you listen to my podcast, the Smug Tire podcast, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of these stickers. I think the font, even though it's the font from the 60s, I get it. It looks cheap on this car. The lines of that font don't match the lines of the car. The current GT350R font that you see on the badge there is great, and if they put that font on the stripe, it would have been nice. And in fact, a fan mocked up the current font on the stripe, and it looks fantastic. So I would say skip the Heritage stripes. They're kind of ugly. But having now spent a week with this, 5 years almost after the, or maybe even over 5 years after the first time, let's have a drive and see if it still impresses. One of the great, all-time great, not only American engines, but engines, period. It is. And listen to this. We have room 8,250 RPM to play with and long legs like this. We have found some room, haven't we, folks? And it's a good thing there are no homes in the canyon, because the echoes of this thing would be the joys of downshifting from 6,000 RPM, folks. GT350R is a power car, 526 horsepower, but it's also a momentum car because it has unbelievable cornering speeds. There's a little construction zone here. They're not here yet, but it's I can see they're not here yet. Unbelievable cornering speeds and a lot of power, but focused high at the top of the power band. Peak torque comes on very high. It's like 5,000 RPM almost. Peak power way up top, all the revs. And so you have to be sometimes a gear lower than you would expect. But also with the carbon fiber wheels, with the Cup 2 tires, you are able to carry unbelievable momentum through corners. Lots of grip. Going in and out of the sun this morning as we go up, 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 up. We are at altitude. Oh no. The gate is open, right? Okay, cool. Alright, I thought the gate was closed. Woo! And the sound. Actually, you know what's different? What the biggest change in the 5 years? Not the car. Car is pretty much exactly as I remember it. The difference is a lot of time when I'm driving this thing around now, I'm driving it in quiet mode. When I got it in, it's me getting older, I think. This is loud mode because it's video. But the first time I had the GT350R in 2016, it was start button, loud mode every time. And now I'm actually appreciating the subtle nuance of quiet mode. And we'll just put it in quiet mode for a minute. Because in quiet mode, you get less of the piercing volume, but you hear a little more of that cool intake noise. You hear a little more of the special snarl. The special snarl is that sound that separates the 350 engine, the Voodoo engine, from the regular Coyote engine. Oh, great grip at the front. As far as front engine cars go, the 350R is right up there with the best of them for turn-in precision, front end grip, especially here under braking. Woo! Oh yes. There's the snarl, right? You hear the snarl more in quiet mode. It's fabulous. Down we go. Gearbox, big change. The Tremec gearbox versus the crappy Mustang GT gearbox. Many of you have heard my utter disdain for the MT82 gearbox. Every time I've driven one, the performance of that gearbox has reinforced that my disdain is the correct opinion to have towards it, and anyone else is just being overly defensive. The Tremec in this is pretty much how all Mustangs should be, but I guess costs are costs, and so you have to buy a Shelby if you want a good transmission. What I think would be really fun, honestly, is if they did a Swippy swap. I just said that into a camera. Swippy swap, where you can get for one model year the dual clutch from the 500 in this and the Tremec in the 500. That would be very fun. That normally in any other car would have been third gear, except maybe a GT3. All the revs and all the red lines. And a small fuel tank. The balance is really, really good in this thing. When I had this at a track day, the one thing that really, really stood out to me wasn't even the super special engine, which you can figure that one out on the street. It was actually when you got to the limit, oh, there's traction control. I mean, we don't really need to put traction control off. You don't really need to play with it in this car, because even within the bounds of traction control, it's very, very fast. But in a tight hairpin, the diff is kind of tight in this thing, so that itself could set off traction control just by nature of how the mechanical LSD works. Anyway, what I was saying was, on track, when you really approach the limits of adhesion, what was the most impressive thing about this car was its playfulness. You could move the front or the back with the inputs at will, and you could really make it dance in a way that I haven't seen from other Mustangs, and indeed many other sports cars in general fall very short. All right, I think flippin' bitchin', run down the hill. Woo! What a fabulous engine and car. I mean, to think that this level of performance begins on the platform of like a $25,000 rental car, pretty wild. Oh, where are we here? I need a good U-turn, and I forget where one is. Here one is. Okay. Turning radius in the 350R, pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. You got big 305 meets in the front, not particularly conducive to turning radius. But that's what the problem is with a lot of the front end, the top performing front engine cars all have similar problems, and the 350 is no different. Turning radius is going to be a problem. Ride quality is going to be a problem. We're in comfort mode right now. I pretty much only drive this car in comfort mode. When you've got a front engine car and you really want it to perform well, there's almost no way around it becoming very stiff and kind of bouncy on cracked pavement and stuff like that. It's just sort of the nature of geometries, and that's why mid and rear engine cars ride better on bumpy roads and still maintain their handling abilities, right? So with this, downsides, a firm ride that may be too firm for some people, and those front tires that are helping us turn in so well on this beautiful smooth tarmac and those racetracks. The downside is driving this thing on a uneven set of roads, like a freeway that's in a construction zone, or where the lines like kind of transition, where they've repainted lines and a little bumpy. It's properly white knuckle, and I mean like white knuckle. I'm talking about like they will rip the steering wheel out of your hands, white knuckle. And to have a car that is such a nice car and is such a strong performer, but that in order to go straight on the freeway, it takes a lot of work. You realize that leaves have created oversteer. You realize that something has been traded off for this performance, and it's literally the straight line road mannerisms. But if you're willing to put up with that for the altar of speed, I would understand, sympathize, and forgive you. I did take a wide line there, but if you saw my head, I was looking way down here and it was clear. Brakes on this thing are fabulous, especially for how, quote, simple they are. They're not super fancy ceramic stuff. They're in fact traditional steel brakes, just with a pad, fluid, and rotor compound that is really well matched to the car's needs. Under braking, loaded up, that's very good. And I could feel, if it's gonna break up, I mean, the fact that I just stayed in second gear there, if it's gonna break away, it happens really, really progressively, stop making them. They rule. And you just have so much revs and such a wide, I mean, even though it's focused at the top, it's not like you've got no torque. You've still got quite a bit of torque. That left hairpin snuck up a little bit, huh? And so you can still be that gear higher and run out third into pretty much any canyon road you want with no shifting. It's only if you want to be super aggressive that you need second gear at all. I like that little carousel there. I mean, although these cars in the first year did have some oiling and maybe even some fire issues, we haven't heard much about it since, leading me to believe that they have solved it, which is good. God, this is a lot of car. And I'll end this video with a quick story about how a couple days ago I went down to the Porsche Experience Center in Carson, and I drove 5 incredible Porsche GT cars. I can't talk about which ones yet. It's an embargo thing. Don't worry about it. But just, it was like $1.5 million, $2 million worth of Porsche GT cars. You can probably guess what some of them were. And the point of that story is that after spending half a day driving those cars, I then went out to the parking lot and I got back in the 350R, which I had driven down there. And yes, I was downgrading to a Mustang from Porsches, but getting back in the car after driving a variety of Porsche GT cars really demonstrated to me that what Ford did with the GT350R is really, really close to the 911 GT3 playbook. The specialness of the engine, the body control, the way it feels like a connection to motorsport, the way they improve the engagement in every single aspect of it. You know, Porsche does a little more in the weight reduction. They do more than just remove the rear seats. It's like lightened glass and stuff like that. But considering the price, right, this thing is like $78,000. You're just getting so much car. If you want to drive it, right? If you want to drive it, I think we've learned that these may be long-term collectible. They're not near-term collectible. They will still depreciate slower than a regular car, admittedly, but they do depreciate a bit. They're not selling, you're not getting over sticker for a 2016 model right now, even if it's got very low miles. You're just not. So my recommendation, buy 350R and put many, many miles on it. Do I prefer it to the 500? I think both of those cars achieve their respective missions very admirably. The 500 is crazy fast, and that gearbox, the Tremec dual clutch, brings muscle cars to the next level. It really advances muscle cardom. This pushes American performance in the other direction, in the more precision engineered, I hate to beat the dead horse, but Porsche GT3 direction. Fabulous. Maybe you should buy one before they stop making them, because this is the end. They're going to not make them anymore after this, until maybe there's another generation of them. Who knows? But one of the best driving experiences available at any price, frankly. A car that is really, 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 really fun to drive fast. And so thanks to Ford for letting me have one more go on the way out. Thanks to you for watching, and I'll see you later. And remember, always fight your tickets. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TST10 on the Off the Record app.